You know how we've been getting sequels to franchises lately that are at least 10 years past the series prime? Now we're getting spin off movies that are doing the exact same thing? The Jesus Role stars John Turturro reprising his role as Jesus Quintana from The Big Lebowski. He gets released from serving another prison sentence and reconnects with two old friends played by Bobby Cannavale and Audrey Tautou. Now free to go wherever they want, they all go on a road trip, meet a bunch of new people, and go on some crazy misadventures together. The Big Lebowski is one of my favorite movies of all time. It may be a cult movie with a loyal following, but I think it's deserving of all the hype. I understand its long-winded, rambling exchanges may not be for everyone, but I found the conversations to be really quotable, the writing great, and the performances still memorable to this day. And I do like the scenes with John Turturro as Jesus. They're hilarious. But I still approach this movie with some skepticism because the Coen brothers, who wrote and directed The Big Lebowski, had no involvement with this movie whatsoever. They made it clear they would never make a Lebowski sequel, but they did give John Turturro the rights to move forward with a spin-off since that's what he desperately wanted. So here we have Turturro writing and directing this movie, as well as being the only returning cast member from the original movie. And the result, well, I'll just say it lived up to my expectations, that's for sure. So let's discuss. If you like John Turturro's performance in The Big Lebowski, at least one thing to take comfort in is that he pretty much brings that exact same energy to this movie. He's great here, and he's clearly having a lot of fun with the role, and anytime that's apparent, it did bring a smile to my face. There are a couple of times where he attempts to call back some of his most notable lines from The Big Lebowski, and they feel like they were written in and delivered out of obligation more than anything, but whenever he channels that energy towards more original material, it works. He'll come out with some pretty good zingers from time to time, and there were a few times where I was genuinely entertained. There's also a big supporting cast, again, all of whom seem like they were enjoying themselves. Though outside of Bobby Cannavale and Audrey Tautou, all of them are pretty much cameos. Probably my two favorites were from early on, one of which being John Hamm as this hairdresser, and Christopher Walken as the warden of the prison where Jesus is released from. It's too bad they weren't in the movie for longer. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say that's good about this movie. At first, as I'm watching this and I'm seeing these new characters being introduced and some of these legitimately funny jokes being thrown in there, I'm thinking to myself, hey, you know what? This isn't as bad as the reviews make it out to be. In fact, it's kind of alright. Though as the movie goes on and these characters hit the road, I began to wonder, where are we going with this? What's driving these characters forward? We get a lot of scenes of these characters engaging in quirky conversations, but it's not like they're moving from scene to scene with any sort of express purpose. I'm not going to judge this movie based on how it holds up to The Big Lebowski because that's not fair, and that goes for any other movie based on pre-existing source material. But I will say this, The Big Lebowski can go on at times, and there are plenty of funny moments that you can argue could have easily been cut from the movie. But there was also an overarching plot to that movie that kept you invested in those characters and made those more pointless scenes excusable. And it was a story that was established from the very beginning. Here, we get none of that. This movie has all the pointless Lebowski conversations without any meaningful story or character development to go along with it. It's literally just three characters just driving around and saying quirky things and meeting new people, and that's it. Sure, we like John Turturro because we're familiar with him from a previous movie, but there's otherwise nothing causing us to care about him in this movie. He has no real purpose driving him forward, and he's the exact same person at the end of this movie as he is at the beginning of this movie. You can technically watch this movie without having seen The Big Lebowski, but if you decide to do that, I doubt you'd care for his character all that much. Also, Bobby Cannavale and Audrey Tautou, I've seen them in plenty of other movies, and they're normally great. Here though, they're playing two characters who have very similar traits and personality quirks as Jesus Quintana, and play more goofy sidekick versions of that character. And they come off as pale imitations. And while they're both trying, it's clear from their delivery that they're both out of their comfort zone. The material just does not fit either of them. And when the three characters are all together, it leads to some really cringe-worthy jokes. All three of them are these really hyper-sexualized characters, and a lot of the conversations are based on desires they have or these weird sexual encounters they have, and some of it's this really perverse stuff that's played for laughs. And it makes you uncomfortable, but not in the way that, say, a tense thriller with disturbing imagery might make you uncomfortable. Because it's played for laughs, you just don't feel right willingly sitting sitting there watching some of this stuff unfold. The way these characters are utilized, it's kind of hard to root for them, to be honest. Like I said, I enjoyed the Jesus scenes from The Big Lebowski, but that's because he was a character that was only in a couple of scenes, and in all those scenes, he was made fun of. So that's what made them really funny. And done right, you can make any unlikable character sympathetic to a degree. I mean, a lot of great movie villains are considered great because even though you're not on their side, you can understand where they're coming from to a certain extent. Here though, we really don't get what makes someone like Jesus Quintana likable. It's the exact same personality from The Big Lebowski and the exact same sort of jokes. But now we're supposed to root for him, as well as two characters that are very similar to him without any real redeeming qualities to give us a good reason why. And knowing what you know about him, especially from The Big Lebowski, it makes you feel dirty in a way. At least I felt that way to a certain degree. At least in terms of having to root for him. Honestly, this was made with good intentions. It really was. John Turturro clearly had a lot of fun making this, and it can be legitimately funny from time to time. The problem is though, most of the jokes don't work, and they're kind of quirky just for the sake of being quirky. And when you mix that with a lack of a story and three characters who really don't have any redeeming qualities about them, you have yourself a total misfire. The Jesus Rolls gets a 4 out of 10. I really wanted to like this. I was kind of on board with this for the first half hour or so, and thought maybe all the criticism came from being unfairly compared to The Big Lebowski. But as it goes on, unfortunately, it just turns out to be bad writing, to be perfectly honest. But let me know, did you see the Jesus Rolls, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it funny? Did you find it to be a worthy spin-off to The Big Lebowski? And what's one of your favorite road trip movies, if you have one? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.